right, hello. Thank you for joining me today. This is Heather, your neighborhood sexuality and intimacy coach, and today we're talking about married at first sight, and this is episode 14. No, it's episode 8, season 14, and we're talking about all the foolishness that transpired Wednesday night. Y'all, it was just too much for me, for everybody, for everything. So, again, I'm sending a shout out to those on Instagram who are joining us on another device. But also, thank you all for taking the time to join me this evening. And feel free to place some comments down, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened. Y'all, it was just so much that went on. And to be honest, let me tell you about this Boston crew. They are pretty shocking as far as sometimes the words that come out of their mouth kind of bother me, because it's like, do y'all know that people are recording you? Have you any clue that anyone is recording everything you say? And at some point, the person that you are paired with will see the comments that you're making about them. So I think they don't care. They're not very self-aware as well. We'll talk about it because there was a lot of things to unpack about this episode. I'm bringing my notes up on my other device because I got too many devices going on, but that's okay. Y'all bear with me. All right, here we go. We start this episode. I didn't even check these slides to make sure they're good, but you know what? We're going to roll with it because that's what we do. So checking, let me see here. All right. So in this first episode, we see that Noi and Steve are talking, and what they're talking about is, and let me be honest, I'm not talking about Chris and Alyssa. Just not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. They don't deserve any air. They don't deserve me talking about them. I'm not gonna waste the time to talk about them. So we'll just skip past them because they're really irrelevant at this point. Steve and Noi are talking about getting ready for the housewarmings that are coming up. For all the couples, they are supposed to have a housewarming party so that their families can kind of get together and see them. This is, after the weddings and everything. So some of them haven't seen their family members since the weddings, and especially not all of them, at least. So they're getting to have a conversation and kind of just see how they're settling into married life. So Steve and Noi are talking about cooking with the family and some of the dishes they may make for their family. Now I know that Noi is Laotian. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I'm saying it wrong, somebody correct me. And she was talking about traditional dishes she can do. He's, if I'm not mistaken, half Chinese, half white. So he was talking about certain dishes that he can do for his people. And so with those together, there should be a good amount of, dishes that everybody is interested in. But on the other side of it, they're having a conversation about her, again, with the 3 kids situation, because for some reason, she is stuck on the 3 kids thing. And so they're having this conversation again, and not only because of the children's situation, but also just because of he's not, he really wants to understand where she's coming from when it comes to having the kids. She doesn't understand the way his finances are set up. So that's one of the things that they're having issues with as far as being in each other's life is concerned. She doesn't understand that one thing he's really not interested in is going back to a traditional job. It's not something that he wants to do. And frankly, he doesn't really have to because of the way he's set up. Now, the thing is, they do need to have a conversation about a plan because she really wants these 3 children that don't exist. But in order for her to feel, I guess, comfortable with the idea of having that many children, she wants to know what his plan is. So it kind of scares her a little bit. Now, where I think he's wrong is he doesn't have a plan in place. He kind of knows in his head what he wants to do, but he's not really sharing that plan with her, which is why that may seem to be a little rocky for her. Now, on the other hand, she's non-negotiable about these non-existent children, which I think is problematic because of the fact that you if you're saying that finances is a thing for you, you saying that you want to make sure that you have a foundation for your children, and you with someone who doesn't have the type of lifestyle or doesn't portray the type of lifestyle that you have or something like that, then you may have to revisit the three kids thing for a minute. Maybe that's something that you need to put off a little bit longer so that you can get the opportunity to just really kind of work on what you guys are going to do as far as your family plan is concerned. So I think it's kind of immature to go into an agreement to have three kids. You just met somebody 2 weeks ago and you're telling them you're just non-negotiable on having three, and you don't have a family plan, you don't have a financial plan or anything like that. From the way that Steve talks, he's good, and he even said in the after party he's comfortable, and that tells me what we're talking about. We're talking about married at first sight. What tells me that Steve is more than comfortable is that Steve does a lot of freelance things. He is a sales engineer. I looked up how much a sales engineer can make in the Boston area, and they can make upwards of $200,000 a year. So I'm not thinking that he's like strapped for cash in any way, because he was able to take 4 months off and go traveling and everything. And he made a good point that he wasn't pressed to go and look for a job, because right now he's trying to get to know his new wife, and that'd be kind of crazy to kind of throw himself into a new job situation with having, just married a stranger. So because he has the opportunity and the means and the privileges to, really kind of hyper focus in on this marriage that he just kind of jumped into before he goes into another career, I think that that's something that she may need to look at as, oh, okay, well, he really wants this marriage. Over here on Instagram, he says, some women be like that. Be like what? Explain said to me, and we got to go back to that. So Noy to me is being annoying about the way that she's approaching this three kids situation. Like I tell y'all, as somebody who has, 2 times 3 and add 1, it ain't always that simple just to think that you can make everything add up to make it work, because sometimes even when you think you have it, you ain't, and then on other times you're just doing okay. So that's something that you really have to think about when you're talking about these concrete plans for children. And again, you don't know what's going to work for you and your family when it comes to having that many children. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Sometimes some people have kids and they have one and they be like, you know what, that was good. And you don't know how you're going to feel about it. But I don't like the way that she's going into this. Like I said, in order to make her feel better, he may just need to have a plan. Just give her a 3-month plan. Give a 90-day plan and say, hey, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Here are my finances. This is what, blah, blah, blah. You say, they be like, I want 3, 4, 6 kids and they ain't got one. Let me tell you something. I wanted 0. I wanted 0 children. I always say if they didn't just show up, then they wouldn't even be here, because if you were making me plan, I'd always have something else to do. So, and not that I don't love my babies, but no, it wasn't a plan for me. I just never thought kids would be in the I came from a big family and I had a bunch of nieces and nephews real young. So the idea of more children in my life was too much. But yeah, I don't, sometimes you just need to try to see if one will work. You say, have the first kid and see. And I agree with that, because some people that have that first child, sometimes you have a good first one, right? And I'm talking to my Instagram people, y'all. They says I tell my clients to have the first kid and then see. But sometimes that first one will work out. And then the second one, like I tell y'all, the first one might be your golden child and everything. And you have a second one and you be like, you know what, let me rethink that. Or you might have a demon seed for your first child. And you might decide, you know what, this is not a good idea. I'm not equipped for it. Some people just don't have the emotional capacity to have more than one. You don't know. You may have postpartum depression set in. You may have complications. Everything may not all the time look like what you think is going to look. You may have problems conceiving. You may have problems holding the baby, or like staying pregnant. there's so much that you have to consider when you're talking about making plans for children. So I tell people all the time, don't try to be a look, don't be a hero. Being when you having children and you parenting, that's not the time to be a hero. It's just not. But let's see. And like he said, he was like, just because I don't fit into the standard definition of being employed by a company doesn't mean I don't take care of myself, and it doesn't mean that I don't take care of my responsibilities. So she's just really, she's wondering how she fits into the picture and all that kind of stuff, and they're just gonna really have to work it out. So we'll move on to the next slide because I got plenty of slides today. Elijah One and his friends, y'all. I'm just not sold on Elijah One. I don't think I'm ever going to be. Um, he could save a bunch of puppies out of a river at this point, and I'm gonna still be like, not sure about him because I'm gonna say this every time. I feel like he says what he thinks everybody wants to hear, or he says what exactly comes to his mind, and then when a man checks him, not women, when a man checks him, then all of a sudden he backpedals real quick, and he's like, "Nah, that's not what I meant, but I mean this." He actually fixed his face. He fixed his face to say his red flags about Katina was her bringing home bread and water from the grocery store. No, puppies do not help. No, he could rescue all of the puppies from a river, from a raging storm and in the river. And he could be in a canoe. He could be in a kayak, and he could pick them up, and he could walk across the water and bring them to safety. And I'm still going to be like, not really sure. That's how this works. I just don't know, y'all. Elijah One really bothers me. But so going back to, like, he's like, his red flags, she doesn't know how to cook and everything, or she doesn't keep food in her refrigerator. Here's what's funny about that. The friend, see this friend right here? One thing I like about these friends this season is that these friends look at them like, are you kidding? Do you remember you like 2 weeks ago? His friend was like, I don't know. When I was single, I would have like nothing in the refrigerator. You know, and it seems to be a problem that you have a female friend, or your wife had the same type of lifestyle that you had, which is, I didn't have to, I don't have to bring food in the house. He's like, my wife is a foodie. She likes to go out to eat. I'm trying to see what the problem is, sir. You still gonna eat? She just like to go places and eat. She like to go places, experience new foods and everything. And he is so damn hell bent on a meal being cooked that he will probably miss out on a good wife because, or no, let me take that back. I hate when people say good wife. He's going to miss out on a good person because he's so focused in on her being this wife in his head that, he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And I hope that Katina has enough sense about herself that she's going to push back and be like, hey, dog pound, if you want all this, you know what? You can make it happen. I mean, I think that it's possible to say that. And I want her to stop, holding back. And here's the other thing. And I keep telling folk, no, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it till we talk about her and her friends. But I need some more water. And I probably needed to turn this space heater off in my room too, because now it's too hot in here. Anyway. So his friend kept reminding him, like, we didn't keep food in the house. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. And then the one thing that I wanted that I needed people to say to him, and something that he needs to hear, not just from his wife, not just from Pastor Cal, but from the people around him also. His friend told him, you expect too much. And I agree. He expect way too much for somebody that don't give that much. I'm like, he is a bare minimum guy. He is doing the bare minimum. He's not an above and beyond type of guy. Let me just tell you that. He is doing what he thinks. And through the conversations he have, which is also what rubbed me the wrong way. The conversations he's always have, like, I'm a good looking guy. I don't have a problem getting women. I just blip, 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 blip. He's so used to people, like, just accepting the fact that he's attractive, that he doesn't have to dig deep and do any kind of work to like keep women or things like that. You can argue with me if you want to, but this is my channel, this my show. And let me tell y'all, I'll delete your comment. But that's one of the things that I have an issue with people, with guys like him. They just used to people, especially, young ladies, just kind of running into them and, oh, wow, he's so sexy. He's, so, he's fit, whatever. I'm like, okay, but again, what does that have to do with him being, a good person or good to you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I'm glad that his friend was like, you expect a lot, and then this other thing that's really bothering me, and I'm gonna keep saying it until somebody, see what I'm saying. He do a lot of talking and not a whole lot of it don't have a lot of substance to it. He just do a whole lot of talking. He just throw a bunch of words out, and he's exhausting. I've never met the guy, but him being on TV and seeing him, he's exhausting. I could not see being around someone that's like that 24/7, because he's got a whole lot of thoughts running through. He's hyper focused on one or two things. And then the other thing that got me, and I know we're going to talk about this later, because we're going to look at their housewarming parties. Everybody's always talking about how he gets frustrated and you have to be quiet and wait on him and do all these things. And that's, to me, another flag that says, y'all, he needs somebody need to check on him, because if he always gets so frustrated and everybody knows that his whole demeanor suddenly changes, I don't know about that, because it almost sounds like he possibly become violent, because if you one of these people, you doing this stuff right here, and then all of a sudden your mood just totally switch, and now everybody just need to be quiet and give you your space because you've gotten frustrated. What does that mean? I have an issue with that. What does that mean? Somebody please tell me what that means. Anyway, I ain't gonna focus too much on him because he get on my nerves. Like I said, if he was one of my nephews, we'd be having a conversation nose to nose right now. Anyway, Mark the Shark's talking to his friend. He's talking about Lindsay and everything. He has really good things to say about Lindsay. Like, she's a good person. She does this. She does that. She took care of me. I've never had anybody step in. She made appointments for my mom. He had really good things to say about her. But on the other hand, he also had a lot of concerns about the way that she has these outbursts, and then how she kind of ruffle feathers with people, or how she tends to not let things go. And those are things that concern him, because that's not what he's looking for when he's partnering up with somebody to have to, basically, we shouldn't be doing Wonder Twin powers and having to fight everybody because of something you said. That's something that you're going to have to learn how to pull back on, and he really wants her to pull back on it. And he wants her to know how those outbursts affect their relationship, and how it's affecting the way that he wants to be drawn closer to her, because every time they get to a good point or a good place when it comes to other people, then all of a sudden she's just, digging in and trying to mess with people. And, folks is like, well, she probably does that and she means well, but, everybody else isn't, picking up on it. But this is what I know. If you're 35 years old, some of your behaviors, rub people the wrong way, you need to check those behaviors, because going through life hurt. And let me tell you, she and Elijah one are pretty much the same person. This is who I am kind of approach to everything is really it's just something you shouldn't be doing. Constantly saying, well, that's just who I am. Those kind of people don't want to be accountable for their actions and their behaviors and their words. They're always, it's this who I am. You ever run into people like that? They feel like they can say whatever comes on their mind, and everybody else is supposed to be okay with it. But the moment you give them some truth, and all of a sudden their feelings are hurt, that's who they are. That's who they are. And so those type of people I try to steer clear from, but I'm going to also tell you who you are. Yeah, because you're going to hear it from me too. Because if you can dish it, then you should be able to take it. Just that simple. Instagram people, I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all come on and join me over on YouTube, Heather's Passion Academy, or come over to Facebook and find me there and finish the conversation. Bye. That was my Instagram people. I can't do this back and forth. So um, going to the next group. So this is Michael and his sister Claire. I had to write her name down. Now, I have a thing about Mike. Michael kind of get on my nerves. Again, I'm gonna stay on the men folk. You know why I'm gonna stay on the men folk? Because they can handle it. They can handle it. Um, Mike's sisters, and I keep saying this, Mike's sisters, they love him. That's their baby. But one thing they gonna have to do, and I'm glad that this sister did it, is tell him how he can make some changes about himself. You ain't gotta dig in and always fight somebody, but you can definitely have conversations with your loved ones and let them know, especially as a woman, since he wants their opinion as women, he needs to let them know that they they need to let him know where he can make those changes. Y'all give me 2 seconds. I'm turn this heater off. So anyway, his sister and he were having a conversation about like how things went between he and Jasmina, from the wedding to the honeymoon, and how things kind of took a turn for the worse and everything. And he was talking about some of the stuff that Pastor Kyle talked to them about. And the sister said, and I thought this was important for him to hear, and also I guess I really didn't think about it this way. She said, well, as strong women, we'll protect ourselves. And she kept maintaining to him, she doesn't know you yet. She doesn't know, what is that? She's protecting her heart and her space the best way she knows. How? Because she doesn't know you enough that she can trust that you'll do it. And I think that really did, I heard that, for him. I don't know if he heard it, but I saw exactly what she meant. Like, if this woman is giving you, if every time you have a conversation with her and it goes awry, and you don't get the fact that maybe you haven't earned the safe space yet, and the other thing with him is this off-camera persona. That bothers me this season. There's a lot of off-camera personas that keep popping up when it comes to these spouses. Like, they're totally different people off camera than they are on camera. And that makes me wonder, why are y'all not being genuine? Why are you trying to portray someone else? Well, now we know one couple. We ain't going to talk about them because they not worth the time or the effort. But why do you feel like you need to be one way in front of the cameras and then another way when the cameras leave? Like, that's a problem for me, because you're still not being yourself, or you're trying to hide from everybody that, I don't know how bad of a person you are or whatever, but those are things that you need to check about yourself. Like, why do you feel like you need to be a totally different person? I do not understand that. So, trying to see, why did they why did that give him a pass in her opinion? Hey, come on over here to the live, Myra. Let me type that in. Come over to the live. I'm doing about 5,000 things, y'all. And there we go. So that was one of the things that that's bothering me, because everybody's talking about who they are off camera and everything. So that means that you're not really a genuine person anyway. So, I can't trust that you are who you say you are. And like I said, this Mike gives me very much the other Mike that made up a whole career for himself. He went from being a principal to a yoga instructing everything. He's giving me the same vibe. So I don't really know about that. So anyway, I'm glad that his sister, told him that, like, you need to, understand that you haven't earned that space in Jasmina's life. And everybody's hard on Jasmine. Let me tell you, I ain't going to say she's easy to like, and I ain't going to say she's hard to like. What I will say is, I feel like you're getting who she is. And I think a lot of times she's coming off very harsh a lot of times. One, based off of what she's heard from the siblings, but also her experiences of him have been so different that she's guarded now. She's completely guarded. Um, and those are things that I feel like now is kind of impacting the relationship because he keeps showing himself to keep lying about regular stuff like the whole roommate situation. I still don't understand that. So um yeah, crazy. So anyway, going to the next one on one, I guess that's what we'll call it. Uh yeah, this is my favorite one. This was my favorite conversation. Not just because the conversation that you saw between the two of them, but the fact that production be tripping me out. Sometimes production is petty and I love it. Um, Production real petty this season. But they went back to the day after the weddings to bring up some of the conversation. One thing about this friend here, her name is Ariana. She says he talks a lot. He goes off on a tangent and you can't really get just can't get a word in edgewise with him. Like he's always talking. He doesn't give people an opportunity to really dig in, and for them, um they have a problem with that because it seems like he's trying to stay guarded or only give them enough information so that they're not really able to gauge who he is as a person. I don't tend to trust people like that always run in their mouth. Like you ask them one question and next thing you know they talking about U.S. history or something like that. You got to be careful with people like that. And again, he's used to dominating conversations and people allowing him to do so. You can very much tell he's used to being that kind of a person. And everybody's like, oh, he's the life of the party and everything. Again, he looks very exhausting to me. Um, so the other thing that she brought up was, have you addressed this thing about him never dating, never have dated a black woman before? And she went hard and pressed her really hard about this particular situation. So Katina's like, well, I've already talked to him about it. The one thing I know about this friend here is that the conversation that she was having without saying everything is she knows her friend. And I feel like they know their friend has low self-esteem because I don't care what y'all think, her self-esteem is low. And why do I think her self-esteem is low? Because one of the things that we learned about her was she said every relationship she's ever been in, she's been cheated on. Okay? Which means that he can do the bare minimum and that's going to blow her out of the water. So as long as he appears to be into her and as long as it seems like he likes her more than the next person, then she's good with that. Even with him being, semi-controlling, well, he is very controlling actually. Even that for her, because it seems like he's focused on her, seems like it's great because it's like, well, that means you're probably not cheating on me because you're into me and you want to know everything I'm doing. So he can pretty much talk any kind of way to her and everything, but as long as he's not cheating, she's good with that. And for me, I feel like she just wants to be married. So by any means necessary, by any other ways or whatever, she's going to accept whatever behaviors he has because that's what she wants. She wants to be in a marriage, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. As long as she can't see that he's cheating on her, then he's doing better than everybody else she's ever been in a relationship with. Why do I have lint everywhere? Anyway, so this friend was asking her about him never dating black women. Now, there's a couple of groups I'm in, and people are kind of, just back and forth, and folks are like, why is this an issue and everything? And I'm like, if you've ever been black, and if you've ever been a black woman, if you've ever been black, period, and you are around black people who don't, like, who make an effort, let me say it like this, who make an effort to, or anybody who makes an effort to not date their own race, or their own ethnicity, you have to look at them side-eyed. Why? Because you're usually going to date. It's just like how they say, crime being in proximity. You usually date within proximity, which means, and let me give you this um, scenario that I was just talking to earlier. I was talking about earlier. So my BFF is mixed. Okay. My BFF grew up in a primarily white area, a town. Um, in her actual class, not everybody she went to school with, but in her class, there was her and one other child that was black. And both of them were mixed. Okay. So everybody in their class was not black. So that means if she stayed in her hometown, it was very likely that whomever she dated would be not black because of proximity. But then she went to a HBCU. What's in proximity? Black people. So she would more than likely find people who look like her at a HBCU to date. So taking this back to him, yes, he was raised by a white mother. Yes, most of the women that raised him were white. Okay, great. Here's where you lost my respect. She said, well, to clear it up, he's never been in a serious relationship with a black woman, but he's dated them. So that tells me you were able to go out and sleep with them, but you didn't find them to be important enough to be in a long-term relationship with. Now, also, I don't really believe he's in a long-term relationship with anybody. I just don't believe that about him. So that's another thing. So there are a lot of things that bother me. But then when a friend pressed her, the first thing that falls out of her mouth is, well, he's half Irish. She could have said half white. She could have said mixed. But she was pinpointing the Irish. And so her friend says, but he looks black. He's black. So there's where the problem lies, because even she's trying to find excuses as to why it was less important for him to pair bond earlier with someone who looks just like him than, now where he's saying, well, I'm trying something new. And that's where his friends were starting to call him out. Her friends were calling him out like, this is not trying something new. You're marrying someone. Trying something new is going to a new restaurant. Trying something new is getting a new pair of shoes, or, coloring your hair, doing different things, having to do different hairstyle. But where do you get this trying something new? Well, I've never been in a serious relationship with a black woman before. Those things are red flaggish, and I don't care who you are and what you say. That's what it is. Let's see. How is he supposed to understand what it is to be with a black woman then? And this one wears a wig. Black women that hair are a whole thing. See, and those are my other thing. He has a lot of preconceived ideals about women in particular. And so to me, whenever he gets a chance, he's picking her apart anyway. And if you notice, she can't do nothing right according to him. She'll do something. Okay, yeah, well, do this now, do that, and he's always undermining her confidence. He's undermining a lot of things about her. I don't care what anybody says. I don't like it. And even if they stay together past decision day, they're going to have a very rocky relationship, and she's going to be continually giving up her personality, her identity, and everything else to appease him. And it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough for someone like him. So, you say, I ain't been right since they went to the gym at honeymoon. That's where he lost me. You ain't finna talk to me like a drill sergeant and think that we finna be intimate too. No. No, not gonna work. So I was glad that friend was really grilling her. She needed that. She needed to be grilled. And I think that the friends know that she just will give in to whatever just to say that she's somebody's wife. That's what I think. Moving on to Jasmina and her friend. I think they said her friend said she's been engaged for like 8 or 9 years. Girl, we need to have a conversation. But anyway, Jasmine and her friends were talking about the situation between her and Mike, and how things were kind of rocky. Then they talked to Pastor Kyle, and things are kind of back on track again. It's better. And when she says that he thinks he's always right, her friend says, sounds like you. And I was like, oh, well, then, Jasmina, you just looking at yourself in the mirror. And one of the things that they both admit is that they have a lot of similarities. But I think the difference is how they deal with things. I think that with him being um, a doomsday person, that he always looks at things as a bad thing. Look at y'all. The thing with him being, one of those people, like, he just sees the glass half empty. You could give him a full glass and he gonna see that it's half empty. Whereas she tries to be positive, but if you keep messing with her mood, she goes into negative mode real quick. And I can't blame her, because somebody like him who nitpicks and think about it all night to nitpick, like, he really stewed over some stuff to wake up and first thing in the morning he wanted to talk about was being negative, or you need to apologize to me. Child, I've been we be in different places, because you're not finna ruin my mood. You're not gonna do it. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna keep going. Yeah, he creates problems. He does. But he said that. He said he's a nitpicker. He says that when he finds people that he likes, and here's what's funny. I think a lot of times he think he's not deserving of people who are like like um beautiful or attractive. I think that when he feels like he doesn't deserve those people, that's when he starts nitpicking. And so it's very interesting. Very interesting. Y'all, let's talk about these housewarming parties. First of all, I thought that Mark and Lindsay's friends were good. What do you call them? They participated well. They had the little game, the little trivia. That's their friends there. They had pizza night. They were doing all kind of stuff. Um, Mark always seems like he's on pins and needles. He just always seems like he's on pins and needles. Um, at the time when they, were making the food and everything, everybody gets to pull away the other um, spouse and talk to them individually. Mark wants to know how to basically, he needs to know how to reel her in without it being so offensive. And they said, let her know how it feels, tell her what doesn't work. Um, because right now he's at a place where he just don't say anything, because it seems like every time he says something to her, it sets her off. Um, you said, so is she the one that won't leave the other lady alone? Yeah. So Lindsay is the one that she's a loose cannon. Lindsay just believes. Lindsay just got a lot of issues. She thinks she is Mother Earth. So she has deemed herself Mother Earth. She has deemed herself to be an expert on some of everything nobody asked her about. She oversteps, overtalks. She just does the most. And she's another one of those people that thinks it's okay for her to be offensive and nobody check her on it. And that is the biggest problem with her. Myra says Lindsay is too much all the time. She lacks decorum, and he sees this as a lack of class. She feels like she doesn't want to dumb down herself for him. And here's the catch. He's the one having to dumb down for her. But anyway, Lindsay really thinks she got something over him, and that's the other thing. I don't really get it though. She really feels like she's the one, being the glue for his life, and I don't think that's the case. Um, Now one of his friends told Lindsay, I was concerned because usually he'd be the one that kind of want to fall in love and move in. I'm like, ooh, y'all was, I mean, here go the bus and here go Mark. They just threw him straight up under there. Um, so it was very interesting to know that his friends say that he pretty much falls hard and fast when he's in a relationship. So that's all I gotta say about them. That's all I'm gonna say about them. Yeah, his friends talk too much. I believe so. I think Katina friend need to keep talking for her. All right, Stephen Noy. Um, this is them at their party. So again, they had the dishes from the other cultures and everything. They discussed the three kids thing, which everybody's like, she's just hardcore on this, hard set on this. And I need her friends to have the conversation like, girl, sit down, whatever. Um, and the thing that her friends were talking to him about was she's concerned that him not working means that she's going to be the primary breadwinner for their relationship. Here's what's funny about that. And he told them it'll never get to that point. She can't wrap her head around a non-traditional income earning situation. She cannot see how people can be self-employed or even contractual workers and not be like, strapped, because she comes from a background where um, they just didn't have a lot of money and everything. Um, she cannot see it. And I don't think she's going to allow him to explain things either. Yes, and she's from an immigrant family. And this is okay, so Myra, talk with me for a minute. This is why I think this is funny. Not funny, but odd. If I came from like serious struggle, and one of my main concerns is making sure that I have enough resources to sustain um, a lifestyle or income, I wouldn't be worried about having a set number of children, because I wouldn't want to have that stress on my head. So I can't understand why she's so hell bent on having 3 kids, because she seems to be so stressed out about money that I think the last thing that would be on my mind is bringing other people into this equation. I don't get it. So, she's just like, I'm just concerned. I'm just so scared. I'm concerned. I'm like, well, don't have no children right now, girl. Just don't do it. Get yourself to a point where you are comfortable with the way that he earns his lifestyle. I don't think he should have to give up working in the way that he works. I think that they do need to come to an understanding on how he makes money. I do think that they need to come to an understanding on, what it looks like when he says he's comfortable. I do think they need to have a conversation on, how he's able to take care of some things. You said that's a cultural thing. Children are proof of your success. Okay, so I understand it's cultural. But 3 kids is only based off of, that's because her parents had 3 kids and she got cousins that are in the groups of 3s. That is what she said from her mouth. And that's why I challenge that, because that don't make sense. 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 Somebody please tell me, is that a Laotian custom to have 3 children? And then I'll back off. But today I won't. You said, do these people pass a therapy screen? This is what I think happened, Myra. I think they threw all the papers up in the air and they just, whoever fell on the table is who they picked this year. I don't think they did anything extensive. I don't think this year they cared. I don't know, but that's a problem for me, because it was just like, you said we did that last year. I think they threw darts at the wall last year. They were like, okay, that one stuck. All right, that one, okay. That's what they did last year. This year was just toss it up in the air and see what falls. It was crazy. It's absolutely insane what they're doing. And they seem to be okay with this. And this is my other thing. They need to stay off social media. I'm talking about the experts just need to stay off social media, because we all got words and hands for them. Okay, all day. Okay, so Jasmina and Michael and Jasmina, whomever. I want y'all to see something. Look who showed up to their party. Jasmina had 2 friends, and Michael had, drum roll please, the same sister. Do Michael have friends? More particularly, does Michael have male friends? I thought he had a friend or two. I was hoping he has a friend or two. But Michael only seems to have his sisters that are always around him. Why Michael ain't got no friends? Not one? Not a male cousin? Not somebody that live down the street from you that you just call your play cousin? None of that. Michael don't have no friends. So Michael just be talking to himself a lot and thinking that he's solving problems. That's Michael's problem. Michael needs some friends. Michael needs some friends. Uh, Jasmina had BTS Uno cards. That's weird. You said that's why he got so much time to be negative. He got shit else to do. You ain't lying. Michael ain't got no friends. He doesn't have a sounding board. And he doesn't have people that are able to check him and his overthinking. I think that's what the truth of it is. Um, he made some drinks. They were excited about him and the drinks. They played charades. I thought that was fun. Um, I don't really remember what everybody was asking them about, to be honest, because I kind of just wasn't caring about, like, they were talking about things that um went left in the relationship. Now she talked to Jasmina, the sister went to talk to Jasmina. I just looked at some of the notes and she says what they really like Jasmina for Michael. But here's where the red flag. You know what? I'm gonna get me a red flag, and I'm just gonna just put it right here and pull it. This is where the red flag came into that conversation when Jasmina was talking to Michael's sister. She said, "You tell him no," and I'm like, "Well, why hasn't he ever heard no from any of y'all?" That's a problem. I just don't think it's a spouse's job to reparent their spouse. I don't like it when people say stuff like, "You tell me no," like I'm a child. You tell me. There's something childish about that. To like someone that gives you boundaries and rules and structure and discipline. Like those are things you should get from the people that raise you, not the person that is trying to spend the rest of their life with you. And like, why am I wasting this energy on this? I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. He said, "Baby, he needs a lot of guidance on emotional maturity." He really does. I really want them to start having a boot camp before they marry these people off. I think they need to do 2 weeks of boot camp. I don't know what that means, but they need to prep them for marriage. I don't like this anymore. 14 seasons in, I really don't like it. And one of the reasons I don't like it is because some of these people have some really odd notions about marriage. And now, granted, even when you are married and have been married, marriage throws you some loopholes, some curveballs, some really weird stuff. But I think that they need some type of premarital, premarriage, premarriage boot camp or something so that they can learn some things. So the last 2 or 3 seasons have been questionable. I mean, yeah, it has really turned into more so of a reality show than actually a marriage experiment. And that's where my concern is. You said you're gonna pitch that. Now, if I pitch that, it's gonna be my own show, baby. Because let me tell you, I be one of them experts that step right in like, be. I saw what y'all was talking about. We finna talk about this right now. We ain't gonna wait a week. I'm finna get on this red eye right now, and we gonna talk about it today. I didn't like the way y'all were talking to each other. Yeah, it's gone from being a social experiment to being just reality TV, and is losing its luster, is losing its credibility. Um, it's just a problem. It's a problem. Okay. Let's go over here to Katina and Elijah one. I just realized I left one of my favorite slides out. I wonder if I can throw it in real quick. Give me a minute. Let's talk about it. That's Katina and Elijah one. So you got her two friends and his friend that kind of told him, "You be doing too much." And like I said, I can appreciate him for that. I'm gonna actually drop these slides in as we speak. So while we're talking, so he was talking about they were talking about um you know how it's been, have they been intimate yet, where the feelings are, the things that really bother me is how Elijah one keep talking about. He said something about she shows effort, and y'all know I don't really care for Elijah one already. I've already stated that. But what I really have a problem with is how do I say it? Ain't that I have a problem with saying it, but Elijah one believes he deserves more than he gives. I think that's the best way to say it. He um you say he makes me mad when he breathe. You know what? Kinda. I think my biggest problem with Elijah one is how, again, he really offers the bare minimum and he expects perfection. He does, like, he says something to the effect of, like, everybody was making this big deal about because he um cut his hair or something like that. And he was like, yeah, now Michael B. Jordan, everything. Everything he says just makes my nerves bad. I just, like I said, he couldn't be one of my nephews because I'm telling you, I got a couch over here in my office, and I would have him sitting right here, and I'd be like, look, we finna talk. I don't know what the hell your problem is. Um, but we're not gonna do this today because you are not going to embarrass your auntie. And I think that you said, how have you noticed that the mixed dudes on the show have glaring issues? But and here's the thing, they've never been addressed. That's been the problem, is that they've never been addressed, and that has been the problem. Like, most of the time, a lot of those people, when you're looking at it, they have never been um people just I, that's all I got. That's all I got. People tend to be okay with the types of behaviors they have, but it's just like how we talk about people excuse behaviors based off looks, right? You ever hear that, like, as parents, if you ever been to like a school or something like that. I've heard this at schools. I've heard this with grown folks. Oh, if you wasn't so cute, you bad, but you cute. If he wasn't so cute, then I'd do whatever. I'd whoop his butt or this and that. And they let those behaviors go because of a certain aesthetic or a certain physical aesthetic. So those people are used to skating by off of looks. They haven't had to have substance. Nobody's held them to that degree of responsibility. Now, here's the other thing. I know that that's not all the time the truth for everyone, because some parents be like, whatever. But for the most part, you got to remember, even in the black community and everything. I took myself out the stream. So in the black communities, a lot of times people will excuse behaviors based off of colorism. That's just the truth of the matter. It's nothing that I'm making up. It's nothing that the next person is making up. But colorism very much is something that we have to address as a community and say we got to stop doing that type of stuff because it causes people to first of all it's not good. Secondly, it's not good for either party, right? It's not good for either party. It's not good for that child, and it's definitely not good for the people that have to be around that child. And we've seen that throughout time that people will just excuse those behaviors because they can. And so, I just hope for them. I'm not gonna find this picture. Well, I found a picture of the friends, but it won't let me drop it into a slide. Anyway, but they were talking to him about some of the things. Again, like I always say, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. Master of word salad, right? Word salad was something somebody said, and I was like, that describes how he talks. Um, their thing is all the time is he has a large personality. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't excuse. He's kind of rude in a lot of ways. He does a lot of outbursts. He says a lot of stuff. People tend to be okay with that. Yeah, I got a problem with that. I really do. I have an issue with how people are trying to just say, okay, yeah, well, this is how he is, and he can't help it. The other thing was they were saying that he couldn't help his behavior um, due to. I think he's self-diagnosed. I'm not sure. Myra, correct me if I'm wrong. Is he self-diagnosed as ADHD? Because I hear him throwing that term around a lot when he's not wanting to be accountable. Um, and so that tells me a lot of times he's been used to someone giving an excuse. And, you know, you said, okay, he talks a lot. Maybe that's to avoid questions. Maybe because he's narcissistic. I don't get the feeling. And I mean, I'm not, okay, you said he's self-diagnosed. I think he's bipolar. I don't know. I've never done any I'm not a, she said diagnosed as. He definitely is that. I don't think that those are the right terms. I will retract my bipolar statement. I don't know. But I do think that he's one of those people that says, I'm this and I'm that, so that you can say, oh, okay, well, he can't help it. And there was a group that I was in, and they were like, you gotta understand that he can't help it because, he has these particular issues and all this stuff. And I'm like, we when it came down to other people on these shows, we didn't give them any excuses as to why they were acting the way they were acting. They were just acting the way they were acting because they were acting that way. And now all of a sudden, we're finding reasons that he can be this rude. And there's where you done lost me because, no. If he has a diagnosis, then he needs to be treated and not let everybody else have to deal with, what his issues are. Or, it's not fair to just kind of throw that out flippantly and then be like, yeah, well, this is what you're going to deal with. There are coping mechanisms. There are tools for that. You said, why won't he let me show it? Narcissist. Attention seeking behavior, expects perfection, all the other stuff. Yeah. A lot of these things that he's saying, I don't know. It just doesn't fall in line with what he's trying to portray. So for me, he can miss me with that. I think it's, he got something else going on. And then my other thing is, if you're the experts and you know that somebody's self-diagnosed or going with, because you got a whole therapist, right? She a whole therapist. And yes, she's a family therapist, but wouldn't you say, okay, well, have you, is this something that that you had? It's something's amiss, people. Something's amiss. That's all I'm saying. So that's where I'm having trouble, really being able to find some compassion for him because I feel as though, that's right. You said, have your meds been a thing? I have a thing about those type of conversations with people, that they just kind of flippantly say things, and then it's just kind of like, oh, okay, this is what we doing. Y'all, I found it. But anyway, her friends. One thing I will say about Katina's friends, is that most of them try hard. And the other thing that I will say about their friends, hold on, one more thing, um, is that I think they care a lot about her. I think they want to make sure that she's okay, and in the way that she's being true to herself by seeing some of those things, because none of them really care. I don't think any of her friends really care about him, care for Elijah one, but what they are trying to do is, they want to make sure that she's seeing what they see. And they also know that, again, she's willing to overlook some of his very red, uh, red flags in order to say she's in a successful relationship. I think this has more to do about her not ever being in a relationship that's successful than to actually like be in a real relationship. I know it's crazy, but some people just that's the desire, and that's what she want to do. I'm gonna pull this slide back up real quick. I think I'm able to pull it back up now. Let's see. I gotta take it back out. But those are things that I find that need to be really, addressed when it comes to your friends and everything. I think your friends need to hold the people that you're going to be with accountable. Sometimes your friend might not like that person. They might not get along. And there may be a reason, and that's okay. They ain't got to be besties. They just need to learn how to, get along as far as, being cordial to each other. But they don't, your BFFs and your significant other don't have to be BFFs with each other. But if they can constantly see red flags that you refusing to see, that's what'll happen. A lot of times they will see things and they'll be just cool with your people. But, I wanted y'all to see this slide here. This was the one I wanted y'all to see. Do you see that girl face right there? That face right there told me everything I needed to know about the conversations they had with Elijah one. They was not. They were like, and even at the end, everybody was like, well, no, they end up liking him. I'm like, they were okay with him. They didn't say that he was like, no, they were just okay. Them two right there, the way they were looking, especially that baby girl right there in that denim jacket, she was not hearing anything he had to say. She was not here for it, baby girl. That face right there was everything to me. It was like I don't believe nothing he gotta say, and I agreed. You ain't gotta. He ain't had nothing good to you. So yes, that's one of the slides I needed y'all to see. It was so funny to me because I think that you got to have them skeptical friends, especially, I mean, you only known them for 2 weeks. So it's okay. Um, so I think that was the end of the um, housewarming parties. So we move on to back to Noah and Steve's house where they're talking, and you see that Steve is on this Blair Witch Project camera, the camera right up in his face. He up against the wall. He looked like he going through it. I don't really know. And this is where the beginning of Noodlegate happens. The thing about it is Noe decided she wanted to cook for him. He was like, all right, bet. They eat two different kinds of noodles. She does gluten free. He does regular. She wasn't really paying attention to his food, even though she said she would be the one to cook for him. Or, I'm going to cook us some food, or however that goes. He came out to check a few times, and he realized that the water was boiling over. The noodles were boiling over, and he just kind of went out and checked on it. It's something I would do if somebody, I don't care if you say you're cooking for me, I'm probably going to do the same thing. Because maybe you get overwhelmed in the kitchen. It happens. So he was just kind of like, they're overcooked. Um, he basically he's pretty much like, like you really not checking on these noodles like you said you were gonna check on them, and apparently that offended her. So she said, he said, she said, well, they're not for me, pretty much like it just whatever. They're not. I'm not gonna be the one eating them. And he said, well, you can still cook, check on them, right? So for some reason that offended her. So she gathered up her dog. And you see, she said F this. We know that's a F this. And she leaves out the house. She wouldn't say nothing to him. He tried to text her over and over again. He tried to text her overnight. She was gone for a solid 24 hours and would not say anything to him. She left. We find out later she went and stayed at her apartment because she felt disrespected because he told her she didn't know how to cook noodles. Listen, don't nobody want soggy. Uh, don't nobody want overcooked. Don't nobody want overcooked pasta of any kind. Ew. She comes back holding this dog like a toddler. That's a whole conversation for another day. And the conversation was, she just, I don't know what the problem was, but she's doing all this non-communicating with him. But then she goes to social media and posts this, and he was like, you know why would you even post this? And now you got my family members that are following, your family members that are following. People gonna want to ask questions like, what's going on and everything. And she said, well, maybe I shouldn't have gone to social media. You absolutely should not have gone to, like, you won't even talk to him, but you on social media talking about this relationship is so hard. She's got a lot of growing to do. And I'm like, why do you need to be somebody's mama? Because what's gonna happen if your child tell you they don't like their food? You gonna just not talk to them for a whole day? Because I don't understand it with her. And of course, people are like, y'all know good and well it wasn't about the noodles. That's still about him and the job. Well, then say that. Nobody a mind reader. Your partner is not your mind reader. Your partner should not have to do the labor of trying to figure out what's wrong with you. If there's something wrong, say it, and then you can address it. But this was not the way to do it. Then we find out they have to pull themselves together because they have a group outing. And there you go. I just refuse to show the other. The other two showed up to this too, and nobody wants to see Miss Crocodile tears, and nobody wants to rehash that. And I'm not gonna do that. But in this time, they're having conversations. It was lighthearted and everything. Of course, Lindsay was talking about how Mark experienced his first taco, which, yay, Mark. But how are you 36, 37, 38, and you've never had a taco? But, digressing. We had Katina saying that the one thing she likes about Elijah One is that he puts the toilet seat down. They got into a conversation about flushing. Like, do you flush with the toilet seat closed? Do you keep the toilet seat open? What's going on? Lindsay, Steve got ready to talk about, like, what do you guys do? Is it about a courtesy thing, keeping the toilet seat down, or is it about hygiene? Of course, Lindsay overtalks, and they all had to tell her. Lindsay allowed him to finish what he was saying, but she can't because she don't have any self control. She don't know how to do that. Then they got to talking about some of the things, getting along better as far as Pastor Kyle was concerned. Lindsay and Michael said, he kind of tore us a new one, but, things are fine now. And okay. Elijah One said, I'm learning to talk to her and not at her. Okay, great. You know, them other two, Chris and Alyssa, like, we getting a divorce. Okay, snaps for you. And so then Lindsay says something to the effect of, I don't think you can really have a genuine relationship until you have, come into conflict, something to that nature. She said, conflict, she believes conflict is necessary in order to build an intimate relationship. And Katina was over there drinking her drink and rolling her eyes. And then she looks over at Katina, wants to know why she rolled her eyes. Katina said, I told you don't talk to me. Uh, we not doing it. I'm not going to argue with you on camera. Just stay over there. Which, that was a boundary she set. Now, of course, I still say Katina don't seem to have that same energy for Alyssa or for her own husband when he disrespecting her. But you know what? Digressing. um, so at that point, you see that, Elijah one tells, kind of tell her to, keep it classy. And then Mark tells Lindsay to drop it. So, everybody's kind of having fun or whatever. And then later on, as they're still bowling and everything, she wants to know why Mark's demeanor changed. Well, Mark was saying, I don't like the way you were addressing her because, again, you could have just left it alone. She had a problem with that because she feels like he's not on her team. A lot of things happen as far as, he's like, look, I am on your team. That's why I'm over here. But, you got to stop doing stuff like that. She, of course, gets mad and tells him to call his mama so he can, have a place to stay for the evening, which I'm like, you go straight to low blows, don't you? Um, and then, and this is them arguing. What I found interesting, because I'm gonna do it like this right now. Um, she goes for the jugular. They can't have an argument without her going for the jugular. And people like that, spouses, friends, whomever, if they have to suddenly like start trashing you and everything when you get into it, they're not the people you want to be around because that means, you can't trust them. The other thing about her is she has to always point out what she's done for him so that, basically you can understand that she's doing all this stuff for him. And I think he appreciates it, but nobody wants anything rubbed in their face all the time just because you said you've done stuff. So it went from them talking to him going to go sit down with Chris, and we see this. She's starting to talk, and the producers go into the bathroom with her. These are some of the things she said. She said, I hazmated suit. I didn't know that was a word, but we're going to go with it. She said, tell me what other wife would deal with this. And she also said, not Alyssa, because she has a personal vendetta against Alyssa. And then she said, some of this, all right, little boy, let me teach you how to be a big badass bitch. I was like, wow, we just going to be everything. We just, some of the things she just said was just alarming because she just went for it while she was talking to them. She was like, have fun living in your roach infested apartment. I don't need you. I'm gonna go back to South Boston. Where you gonna go? Your mama's. So, again, and then let me also say this. She need to put down anything alcoholic because she gets like this, especially when she's had too much to drink. Here's what's funny about all of these things. Her husband could hear her. He's talking to Chris on the steps and he can hear everything she's saying. So the fact that she doesn't care whether or not anybody can hear her, because she was talking very loud at some point to where you could hear it outside of the bathroom. Um, Things like this. I think those are very inappropriate things for her to say. She's like, all I need is an orgasm. And he was like, I want to pull it back. I'm not emotional right now. I guess that meant, emotionally into her. And she's like, why? Because you got small balls. I'm like, wow, really? That's what we do? And I don't know if she meant physically or if she's just saying that because he just wasn't acting right or whatever. But the things that she says, first of all, the camera has caught it. The mics have caught it. And I cannot see, if they're together right now, I could not see this being something that would help them stay together past, decision day. Because somebody that just totally goes in on you like that, anytime you get mad, you got to watch those kind of people. They're not safe spaces. And that's him talking to Chris right there. Like, that's the face they're making. So, like, she all kinds of wrong. And, you said, wait, she said, would you like for me to go back? Oh, I'll pull the slide back up for you. That's the last slide right there. So if you can see that, let me take myself off the screen. Can you read that? I want you to read it like this. It says, I'm like, all I need is an orgasm. And he was like, I want to pull back. I'm not emotional right now. And I was like, why? Because you've got small balls. That's what she said. That's what she said. Yep. Some of the other things she said was about him living in his apartment. She also made a dig at how much he made. She said, you make $60,000 a year selling gym memberships. Um, she said all kind of stuff. She was just super wrong. Like, you're not, I can't, y'all, if they together right now, he is very forgiving. I, mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Nope. No, 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 no. I hope for his sake, they're not together anymore. Cause she was out of line with all of this. Out of line. Just out of line. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for watching because that's pretty much all I got. You said you had to find your glasses. I'll send you the slides, baby. I will send you the slides. But the thing that I thought was crazy though is she really doesn't see anything wrong with what she said. She doesn't see anything wrong with anything she said. And she says stuff like that all the time. And she's okay with it. You know? And yeah. I can't wait to see what next week brings because this is some foolishness. This is utter foolishness. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I will see y'all next week. We'll have more things to discuss for Married at First Sight. I've been trying to keep it to under an hour. I ain't been doing good, but it's been a lot of things to discuss. It's a 2-hour show. One day I'm gonna have to talk about the other shows, but let me get my life and my energy together so I can do it. I appreciate y'all for taking the time this evening to watch. I'm again Heather, your neighborhood sexuality and intimacy coach. I thank you so much for watching. And if you have any comments, anything you want to add to it, if you want to be part of the panel, I'm still open to doing panel things. Let me know. Inbox me, DM me, however way you need to do it. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't to my YouTube page. Because, I love your support. And then here's some other ways you can support me on all the other platforms and everything. And, I just look forward to having fun with y'all and y'all interacting like you've been doing. I really appreciate everything that you guys do. But yeah, this is one of the shows I enjoy watching for right now. We don't know when I'm going to give it up. I say it every year, I'm going to give it up, but I don't. So we'll see. Anyway, y'all enjoy yourselves and have a good evening. Thanks again. Bye.